We will be starting at 7:30 tonight, people. So just a few minutes early, getting the live stream going. Please like, share, and subscribe the video. We're going to have an action-packed evening tonight, talking about some gun bills, a lot of other interesting legislation going on at the state capitol. So we'll be jumping on here shortly. So thanks for jumping on early. We're going to go live at 7:30. At 7:30. We'll be starting in just over 2 minutes here, folks. Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region, and welcome to our legislative live stream. We are in week 10 of the legislative session, about halfway through this horrible period of tyranny where we have authoritarian legislators trying to take away our rights, especially our gun rights. We have Michael Vance, Legislative Director of the Libertarian Party of Colorado. Michael, how are you, sir?
I'm doing much better, Brandon. I really appreciate you asking. How are you doing today?
Hey, doing very well. Very well. Really excited for our program tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. We have a lot to talk about. A lot of important bills going through the legislature this week. It's been amazing to see the Liberty community of people show up and speak out down at the state capitol. It's great. We have so many good freedom fighters here in Colorado who are showing up at committee hearings, whether remotely or in person, and just really exciting to see so many people getting involved. And hopefully, we can provide some information for people this evening about what's going on this week.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Perfect. Awesome. So, Michael, anything new with you, sir, before we get started?
Nothing new with me. Just looking forward to seeing what's happening over the upcoming week. We saw a lot of shenanigans happen, particularly with Senate Bill 3. I'm excited to get into that, and I'm excited to speak with our guest at the top of the hour, Alicia Garcia, aka Boomstick Babe.
Definitely. It's going to be a lot of fun. And just some shout outs in the chat. We have Forrest Mommy, one of Colorado's Liberty leaders there, showing up and testifying at the state capitol. We got Jody Nickerson, another phenomenal person who shows up, speaks out, gets involved. Not sure who Steve Whoop is, but thanks for joining us. Please, people, we are in the chat. We got William Long there. Good to see you in there, William. We're going to be talking about the rally against Senate Bill 3. That's happening on Tuesday. Alicia's going to fill us in on that. So we are an interactive live stream here. Please put some questions in the chat. Really happy to see everybody. And thank you, everybody out there, for all your hard work. Such a great community, such a great group of people here in Colorado. Everybody's fighting and everybody's doing an amazing job of having their voices heard.
Absolutely. We appreciate every single one of you who speaks out and lets your voice be heard.
Definitely, and good to see you, Brian Flanagan and Scott Shamblin in the chat as well. So we got a star-studded group there in the YouTube chat. Some awesome people there. Thank you for everybody for all your work you do. So tonight we're going to be talking, of course, as always, the bills of the week. So these are the important bills being heard in committee hearings this week, and committee hearings are important because that's where you can speak out. You can show up in person, have a voice. You can do remote testimony from home. You can even submit written testimony. But committee hearings are really where the action is in terms of involvement. And we're hoping to empower you tonight to be a more effective communicator and an involved person in our state government. It's so important for people to have a voice to speak out, of course, now more than ever. So 7:30, we're starting that now. Then we have Alicia Garcia joining us at 8. As you said, Boomstick Babe going to fill us in on the latest with gun rights. I'm really interested to hear about what happened with Senate Bill 3, the revisions that were made, any other anti-gun legislation we should be paying attention to. And of course, I'm really excited to hear about what's going to happen Tuesday when Senate Bill 3 is being heard in committee and the rally that's planned around it. Then after Alicia leaves, that will be at 8:30. We'll be back to Bills of the Week. I'm sure we'll still be on that. And then we'll go at the end, like always, the last part of the live stream, we'll talk about some of the bigger bills that are going through the legislative session this year and kind of fill you in on some of those details. Some stuff that maybe isn't being heard this week, but we want to keep you informed about some of these more important pieces of legislation. How does that sound, Michael?
That sounds great. I'm excited to get into it. We got a lot to cover this week.
Definitely a lot to cover, so let's jump in there. So, of course, like we said, we're going to start with the bills of the week. So, folks, these are bills being heard in committee hearing this week. Use your voice, speak up, speak out, stand up, do everything you can to be an effective person fighting for our rights here in Colorado. Hey, they might pass they're going to pass a lot of this stuff, regardless of what people in Colorado say. We're not going to let them go do this quietly. We're going to voice our opposition. We're going to speak out. And I think there's real potential there for the community of people across the state to have an impact. Really, your words do mean something. It does matter for you to show up and get involved.
Absolutely. I think you made a very great point, Brandon. A lot of people like to get black pilled and say, oh, they've already decided what's going to happen. So I'm just going to give up, if not move out of state. We need to sit there. We need to fight. All of us need to come together. It doesn't matter about your ego. It doesn't matter if you might have a tiny uh, difference of viewpoint on this piece of on this policy or that policy. It's time for us to all come together because there's something greater than political differences we're all Coloradans and our liberties at stake. So uh, I'm really excited about what's being built on a grassroots level for the future of Colorado. And I'm happy to join all of you guys down at the Gold Dome to fight.
Definitely well said, Michael. I'm going to go ahead and hit record so we can get some clips this week that we can use later on throughout the week about these bills. So let's jump into it, folks. We're going to start with Monday. So this is tomorrow, March 10th, 2025, down at the state capitol, Legislative Service Building, Committee Room A at 1:30. Really important bills being heard. If you care about transparency, if you care about access to government, Colorado Open Records Act, sunshine laws, open meetings laws. This is Sunshine Week here in Colorado. The Colorado Freedom of Information Coalition is having a great event Friday. I'll be talking a lot about on my X channel. But these are two important bills that we really need people to show up and speak out about. Unfortunately, we have some legislators down at the state capitol who do not want to give citizens the access to the government that was supposed to work for us that we deserve. And then we have another bill, 1242, which is a great transparency bill. So we're excited to talk about those. Now, we've talked about Senate Bill 77 before, but I wanted to bring it up just because it's being heard tomorrow in committee, and there's such a good opportunity for people to show up. So let's jump over to there. Senate Bill 77, modifications to the Colorado Open Records Act. So CORA is a phenomenal tool that the people of Colorado have to get access to government records, government documents, see how our money is being spent, and see how these politicians are using their office to sometimes cause some real negative harm to our communities. So, of course, this has been a very controversial bill. If you haven't heard, one of the big things is that right now in Colorado law, these government entities have 3 working days to get you some information back, to at least respond to your CORA request for these records. This bill would change it to 5 working days, extending the amount of time that it allows these government officials to get this information to the public, unless you are a mass medium news person. So if you work for the big news companies out there, you have that privilege like Kyle Clark, then you can get that information in 3 days. But everybody else in Colorado is being treated like second-class citizens where you have to wait an extra couple days just to get that information. So I know we've talked about this one before, Michael, but any thoughts on it?
Nothing that hasn't already been said. It's vitally important to uh, keep transparency laws intact, if not expand them. I don't know if you remember this, but last year Bob Marshall and former Representative Elizabeth Epps actually had a fantastic bill trying to expand Colorado open records laws. And in fact, those two actually had to sue the Senate, the Colorado Democrats because of how they were acting in bad faith, using signal chats, etc., to truly legislate. I mean, Signal's a fantastic model for people to kind of get together, organize, especially on the grassroots level. But you should not be running a entire state out of Signal. I think that's absolutely absurd and ridiculous. Um, and if the Democrats get their way, they're going to stifle our ability to track the government even more.
Definitely, yes. The government hates transparency. They want to keep what they're doing secret. As Jody pointed out in the chat, they're targeting repeat submitters. So if you're looking for information, digging into what your government is doing, this makes it a little bit more difficult by treating those separate requests as the same request if they're within that specific time span. Glad to see Sherry there in the chat. Sherry Pife, definitely check her articles out at Complete Colorado. She said Senator Pelton said it's the people's records, not the media, which is why he voted no against it in committee. So this bill has kind of made its way through the state Senate, unfortunately passed the state Senate with no amendments, no changes to that special privilege for journalists for the corporate mass media, and is now in the House. So hopefully there's some will in the House to amend this bill or to put some pressure on the bill sponsors to make some changes. So folks, if you care about openness in government, transparency, our ability for citizens to know what's happening, please show up tomorrow if you can. I am planning on being down there at the State Civic Military and Veterans Affairs Committee at 1:30 p.m. So please join me and let's speak against this bill and really call out the bill sponsors, unfortunately, including Republican Matt Soper, who's making it harder for citizens to know what the government is doing.
And one last thing I would say is obviously go testify, but if you know of any journalists that care about government transparency, go ahead and send them a message. Let them know about this bill and tell them just tell them your concerns. I know Senate Bill, I believe it was Senate Bill 158 last year. That's how that was killed. It was a bipartisan bill, and it went right through the Senate. And the way it was able to be killed was by grassroots, by grassroots individuals organizing, reaching out, getting people to testify, and then also reaching out to the media. So use your connections if you have them and let people know about this bill. You never know what you might be able to kill.
100%. And what's so nice is if you go down there tomorrow, you got a two for one deal in this House State Civic and Military and Veterans Affairs Committee, because there's a good government transparency bill, a great bill that we really are hoping people will show up and support. Please reach out to the committee members, let them know to vote against 77 and vote for 1242. And that is this government transparency law. So there's been this great group of transparency activists, for lack of a better word, this kind of transparency community set up. John Caldera talked about it on my interview with him a couple weeks ago. But a group of people, including the League of Women Voters, local journalists, the Independence Institute, Colorado Freedom of Information Coalition, so many others, who are really trying to lead the way in terms of creating more transparent and open government here in Colorado. This is a bipartisan, nonpartisan issue that everybody should be focused on. No matter what you believe, we should know what the government is doing. And House Bill 1242 takes us in that direction. So this is from Senator Byron Pelton and Representative Lori Garcia Sander. So, like you mentioned last year, there was a lot of fireworks over a really bad bill, Senate Bill 24-157, which was an anti-transparency bill that clarified, quote unquote, what open meetings laws applied to the state legislature. This bill would repeal that. So that's a good thing. We're repealing this bad bill from last year. And then also Section 2 of this bill, 1242, would require that a database created and maintained by the Peace Officer Standards and Training Board includes specified information related to peace officer conduct and discipline, be sortable, that's important, in addition to being searchable, and that it be available on a request to any member of the public with only personal information of peace officer redacted and no cost to requester. I mean, come on, the Democrats with their defund the police and police accountability should be supporting this bill, I would really hope. And then there's more to this bill that does make some changes to the Colorado Open Records Act, CORA, but in a good way for sure, I would say. So really good bill there, folks. Definitely want to check it out. There's no special carve outs for the government or for the media, excuse me. Nothing in there that's going to create second class citizens for citizen journalists. So please, if you can, show up down there tomorrow and testify in support of 1242. Perfect. So let's go ahead and move on. That's what we got on Monday in the House State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. Moving on to the Finance Committee in House Committee Room 112 at 1:30 p.m. So really at the same time. Two interesting bills we wanted to make sure people were aware of. You may have heard about this first bill. There was a series of articles about it. House Bill 1199, Property Tax Payment Schedule. So this bill would change how Coloradans pay their property taxes by breaking it up and giving them a little bit more flexibility. Now, of course, you can imagine local governments hate this because it's going to be a lot of work and unmanageable. They expect those property tax payments to come in at set times, and they don't want to necessarily make any changes to that, right? But this bill would create a 4 installment payment options for taxpayers that owe real property taxes in an amount greater than $25 on residential real property. So it would allow this installment payment option, giving people more flexibility. Because, Michael, as we know, property taxes have increased so much since the repeal of the Gallagher Amendment that a lot of Coloradans, especially older ones on fixed incomes, are struggling, and this bill seems like a good thing.
No, I agree. I mean, I'd love to see if Democrats can't uh, pass property tax reform in a real way, which they clearly do not want to do, then this is the next best option, at least. I'd love to see something like this passed because property taxes are becoming a real killer. Look at inflation that's incurred over the last few years. Just because Trump's in office doesn't mean it's going to go back down. Uh, that would be a deflation. That would be us entering a deflationary time period, and that's a whole nother story. Um, for a whole nother time. In the meantime, we're going to have to deal with what we have. So it's people are struggling, particularly lower and middle class individuals and families. So if they can at least pay their property taxes in a more uh, in a more economical way for their budgets, then I think that's going to be better. But at the end of the day, the main goal for us is to really be pushing on Democrats to lower property taxes, if not all in property taxes whatsoever. Um, don't think that'll ever happen, but we got to work for what we can get.
100%. That would be amazing. But yeah, so just so people know, under current law, your property taxes must be paid either in full before April 30th or in two equal installments. If paying in two installments, the first installment is due on the last day of February and the second is due June 15th. This bill would create a four installment option saying that equal payments are due on the last day of February, April 30th, June 15th, and December 15th. And they, of course, a taxpayer could pay the four installment option may pay in full prior to the third and fourth payments. If they miss that third payment, a delinquent interest begins to accrue at the rate of 1% per month as specified in the bill. So I think it's a good thing. Donna Walter in the chat is asking, will there be fees charged to take advantage of payment options? Doesn't look like it, at least in the fiscal note. But definitely think this is a step in the right direction. Finest City Cycling says making it easier to pay property taxes would benefit landlords too. And then I liked what you said there. Good to see a Fly Pilot Explorer. They need to have installments on property taxes because that's the only way people can afford it. Yeah, it's a recognition that there is a problem. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of solutions, but hey, this is a step in the right direction. Doubtful this is going to get anywhere because of the pushback from counties and municipalities, but it's a good attempt, I think.
I agree. I mean, I still have issues with Advanced Colorado and the way they struck that deal. We had some very good um, ballot initiatives that were going to make it all the way through this to our ballots if they didn't run that special session and strike that deal. But it is what it is at this point. So we can only push forward and really build from here for a better future. So let's hope somebody can do something about our property taxes on a real level going forward.
Definitely. I did like Bennett. Bennett there in the chat has a point. He says they would definitely cut pressure to reduce property taxes. And that's a good point. I've thought that often about income tax withholding. If we had to cut that, if there was no withholding and we could just cut one check on tax day, I think people's attitudes would change about the income taxes they pay every year. So I get what you're saying, and that's a very fair point.
Yeah, absolutely, Bennett. I mean, if you want to go back to when was it? Was it the 1940s when they changed how we pay taxes instead of having to pay taxes on tax day? They changed our tax structure so that way they automatically pull it and then we get a refund check after we file our taxes. You can see the way over the decades since they made that major change to the way they pull taxes from our paychecks that people's attitudes have drastically changed about taxes because they're just used to having their taxes pulled every single week. If they had to go through the pain of holding onto their taxes and realizing that that is their money and that your taxes are your money and you are forced to pay them, I think we would see a lot of major change uh, within the state of Colorado as well as the United States.
Definitely. And for people just joining the live stream here at 8 o'clock, so just in a few minutes, 8 o'clock, Alicia Garcia is going to jump on to tell us about Senate Bill 3 being heard this Tuesday. But for now, let's stick with that House Finance Committee this week. We're getting you informed, people, about what's happening. Now, we have talked about House Bill 1274 previously, but I at least wanted to bring it up one more time because it is being heard in committee this week. Basically, Proposition FF passed a few years ago to create this school lunch program by taking away some of our Tabor refund money. So definitely was against that at the time. And guess what? The government doesn't have enough money. So even though they're taking money away from us for this healthy school meals program, they ran out of money. Their program has been a failure. No surprise there. They almost always are. And so now they want to go back to the voters, ask for more money from the taxpayers to fund more healthy school lunches. So unfortunately, folks, the government never has enough of your money and they're going to keep coming in for it unless we tell them no. So thankfully, we have the Taxpayers Bill of Rights that does require this vote of the people for them to keep our tax refund money or keep our tax money. So, you know, uh, Yeah, Proposition FF was basically a failure because it did not meet the money that they needed to fund the program. And of course, now they want more. So we won't go into the fiscal note there, but definitely something people you can show up and speak out against. Uh, House Bill 1274 is just another attempt to take more of our tax money away from us.
100%.
So moving on from the Finance Committee, we're still on Monday, folks. A lot going on at the state capitol tomorrow. This is in the Transportation and Energy Committee meeting at 1:30 p.m. in the Old State Library. Wanted to bring this one up again. Now, this bill has made it pretty far and is moving on. So, House Bill 1040, the nuclear energy as a clean energy resource. We've seen this already pass the House, which was probably the more difficult chamber for it to pass. And now it is going to be in the Senate. So it's in the Senate Transportation and Energy Committee. And just wanted to keep people up to date about this one because I know a lot of people were paying attention out there, testifying in this one, and appreciates everybody's efforts to really have a voice on this one to support nuclear energy. It's definitely the wave of the future. Definitely a good idea. And good to see that this bill's making some progress. So for people keeping track at home, this bill's going to be heard tomorrow, Monday at 1:30 in the Senate Transportation Energy Committee. So check that out if you're interested.
If you guys want to know more about the subject, Independence Institute has a podcast that they're doing specifically on that's on energy related topics, and they've been discussing this one. So they've been discussing this bill, and it's been very interesting and eye opening. So please go ahead and take that out. It's Independence Institute. I believe it's IITV. You can check it out on YouTube.
Definitely. Highly recommend those Power Gab episodes. So moving on, now we're on to Tuesday, folks. So Tuesday down at the state legislature, we're going to be looking at on House Committee Room 112, the Health and Human Services Committee, upon adjournment of the State House. A couple bills we wanted to bring up. Of course, Scott Bottoms has been a fighter there, specifically against the abortion issue. And so just at least wanted to bring this out because I know this is important to some of our viewers out there. But nonetheless, concerning the regulation of medical facilities that perform induced abortions after the first trimester of pregnancy. So, kind of those later term abortions there. We know what's going to happen with this bill. The Democrats, abortion is their sacred cow, and they will not let anything touch that. But nonetheless, wanted to bring this one up because this is a bill you might not have heard of, and that's part of why we do these live streams is to give people more information, a little bit more in-depth understanding of what's going on through our state legislature. So Scott Bottoms recently announced he's running for governor. Check out my interview with him if you're interested to hear what he has to say. But a bill that he sponsored here to license and establish standards for medical facilities that perform abortions during the second and third trimester of pregnancy. Any thoughts on this one, Mike?
I think I'm very interested in how this one's going to go through. I know abortion is a very hot topic issue for a lot of libertarians. Some see it as a human right for the woman, and other people see it as a human right for the child, and that regulates. And whether or not you see that child as a human being in the womb is how libertarians frequently. Go about their view on abortion itself. There's a lot of pro-life uh, libertarians out there now. I personally would consider myself one. So I'm curious how this one's going to go. I honestly don't think it's going to, I think it's going to get killed in committee, but I'm very curious how this one is just because of how Colorado is. But I'm very curious. I want to follow along and see what happens with this bill.
Yep, being heard Tuesday upon adjournment of the House Committee Room 112 for people who are interested in the pro-life issue there. So definitely want to keep people informed. Also, in that same committee, a bill from Representative Brandy Bradley, one of our big liberty leaders down there, definitely a freedom fighter, the Youth Health Protection Act. I know there's going to be a lot of people showing up to support this one. Representative Bradley has several bills this week going through committee that we want to inform you about, but this is the first one on Tuesday here. So, very interesting bill here. The bill prohibits an individual to perform or cause or assist in the performance of any medical procedure or medical treatment that furthers a minor's desire to present or appear in a manner that is inconsistent with the minor's sex. So this bill is trying to protect the health of children of young people under 18-year-olds who want to maybe have this kind of gender transition surgery and medical procedures, and this bill will prevent them from doing so as long as that they're a minor, which you would think that a minor would not necessarily have the right to do something to themselves that could have far-reaching implications. What do you think about this one, Michael?
I think this is a fantastic bill. It's another one that I don't see the Democrats supporting, just because of how Brandy Bradley they are. But I love it. You can also see in here, they're probably going to kill it and use the excuse of the full-time employees as one of the many excuses. But kids can't consent. I think what they're doing is, I think a lot of these people are pushing an agenda that's abusing kids and forcing them into situations that where they will end up having extreme regret and actually cause dysphoria down the road. So I think this is an extremely concern. I think we're seeing an extremely concerning trend in Colorado, and I think this bill is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. Here at the bottom of the bill, I think this is so important. I think all parents should at least support this portion of the bill. Government employees must report a minor's desire to present as a different gender to the minor's parent or guardian. Unfortunately, we've heard some horror stories out of Jefferson County and other counties where maybe some of these teachers and school staff were taking advantage of children, especially during those very confusing sexual years. And unfortunately, we've seen kids get harmed by it. So, like you said, Michael, couldn't agree more that children cannot consent. So restricting this type of treatment, this surgery, this type of medical procedures to when they're actually an adult, legally an adult, I mean, that seems to make sense. And if we were in some sort of sane and rational world, this would already be the case. But as we know, the Democrats down at the legislature have no interest in pursuing any of this type of legislation. They'll kill it swiftly, but nonetheless, I'm curious to see the testimony. I'm sure we're going to have some great testimony from some activists who are trying to protect children and push back against what this government has been trying to do, allowing done to them.
Absolutely. And this is where persistence is going to be key because we know that they're probably going to kill this bill this year, but we got to keep fighting and come back year after year after year. And there will be a time when the tide turns. And because you've been fighting, you've been building that momentum, we will get over that hill to to truly protect kids in a meaningful way. Excuse me.
No, 100% couldn't agree with you more. Let's get on to the most important bill for a lot of people being heard on Tuesday. Our guest is going to join us here shortly. Alicia Garcia will be here to give us some in-depth information. But as we know, Tuesday, probably the biggest bill of the week. Hopefully, we'll see hundreds of people show up to testify and speaking out. Senate Bill 3, the de facto gun ban, aka gun registration scheme, aka firearm owner ID, FOID card bill. So this bill is being heard this coming Tuesday, March 11th, upon adjournment of the state house. So folks, that could be anywhere from 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. There's going to be a big rally. And thankfully, we have Alicia Garcia joining us now to give us some information on this bill. So really excited to get that update and find out that information. But folks, this is this is the worst gun bill Colorado's ever seen. So really happy to have Alicia join us, tell us about the updates here and what's been going on. So Alicia, are you there?
I am here. I'm soon trying to get my video to work. Is my video working?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. So first of all, my name is Alicia. It's not Alicia. So I just want to correct that. I know it's a pain in the neck. People are like, oh, sorry. But I'm like, no, I'm not Alicia. I'm Alicia. So there you have it. And thank you very much, guys, for having me on tonight. It's been one heck of a day flying around by the seat of my pants. And we're just going to start talking about more gun control because that seems that's all I ever do.
Wonderful. Well, definitely apologize for mispronouncing your name
It's
there.
all
And
good, guys.
really thankful that you joined us tonight. So, Alicia, my big question is what happened with Senate Bill 3, right? Because we've heard so much about it this first couple months of the legislative session, and it was just a ban. It was just a prohibition. It was a ban. Then at the final vote, at the very end of it going through the Senate, they did an amendment that totally transformed the bill. So, what happened with Senate Bill 3? What's its current What's its current state of the bill?
So what they're doing right now is they're trying to get this involved in parks and wildlife. So essentially, they're wanting parks and wildlife to their money that was going to lands and being able to hunt and fish and preserve wildlife to start going to support this heinous gun control bill, which is horrific and insane. But nevertheless, I would never put it past these Democrats to, pull a fast one. And that's exactly what they're doing. They want to turn this into worse than a FOID card. So I hate to even say what a FOID card is. A lot of people out there don't understand what that is. So it's basically asking permission to be able to buy guns is what it is. So if we'll rewind it back to last year when they passed the bill that would increase the requirements for concealed handgun permitting in the state of Colorado. Okay. So they changed that process. That process goes into effect this July. And right now there's so many counties that are already backed up from people wanting a concealed handgun permit that they're already starting to enforce the new laws because appointments are going further out past July. So by the time they get their appointment, they're going to need the new requirements, right? The new requirements are an 8-hour class, a live fire, 50-round live fire requirement, and also a written exam. And I believe it has to have like a 70 or 80% passing rate. I'm not exactly sure on that percentage, but that's where we are with that. Okay. But that's just for concealed handgun permitting. And right now in the state of Colorado, we've always had it that you could just take a class by a certified instructor like myself, and then go ahead and, petition your county. It's a shall issue state. So they just are the administrator to get your concealed handgun permit, right? Well, now what this new process is, they're changing it. So now you're going to have an additional hoop just to be able to purchase semi-automatics. So you're going to have to petition the state through the sheriff's department and things of that nature to get their approval, basically. And this allows for the sheriff and for other law enforcement divisions to exercise discretion. So it changes it from being a shall issue state to basically a may issue, that they can deny your application based on your personal recognizance. So say they look you up and they say, oh, look at Alicia. She's on the internet and she's this, pro-gun chick. We're going to label her a right-wing extremist and we're going to deny her this ability. They have the ability to exercise that discretion. And that's what it's coming to. You're going to have to take fire safety and education training like hunter safety. So I think you could take like either a 4-hour or 8-hour class, depending on how they're writing it. It's so convoluted. That's the thing, is like the language of this bill is so goofy and a lot of the stuff doesn't make sense. It's like reading encryptions, and you could tell that the people that are writing these bills are Everytown. It's not Senator Sullivan. It's not, Julie Gonzalez. It's Everytown and these anti-gun organizations that are writing these bills because they want to get them passed, and they're pushing this legislation under the guise that your senators are wanting this.
Thanks for coming on, Alicia. Sorry, my voice is still a little messy from the past couple weeks. I got what half the state got, so
it's okay.
Absolutely. I guess my first question for you is, as we all know, there was a transition in the bill where it went from a gun ban to now a FOID card. But when you go to
FOID card on crack,
FOID card, yes, on crack. But when you look at pages 5 and 6 in the bill text itself, there is a big list of guns.
I'm going to pull it up with you.
Absolutely. And I've heard different things that's kind of confusing about this section. Is this the list of only the list of guns that you can buy with a FOID card and that is it and everything else is banned? Or are they using this list as an example of guns that you can buy with the FOID card?
Which page are you on? You're on 4, because how many pages of the bill there are? There is 18 pages of this bill, people.
Very big bill, yes. Bottom of page 5.
Okay, let's see what is going on here. And this is what I want people to understand, is they change the language and they move things around so much. And keep in mind, there's 12, 13 bills at least right now for the 2025 legislative session that are related to guns. They're purposely inundating this community, so it becomes more and more difficult for us to fight this. They're hearing gun bills on the same day in different committees at the Capitol. So if I want to testify on one bill, chances are there's another one being heard somewhere else that I'm not able to speak out against because I'm somewhere else. So when we're looking at this language, they're starting to just put stuff in there, filler in there. And, you know, I'm not an attorney. So we have to sit here and literally comb through this. And there's so many questionable things that they say in this language that we have to bring it up. But it's a slippery slope because you don't want to bring something up that's going to make the bill better for these tyrants to pass, that's going to make it easier and more likable to Polis for him to sign it. In my perspective, and you know, I know other people in this industry feel the way that I do. We want to keep this language so ugly that we can hit it up in court and sue against it because it's so heinous. So you're saying right now, let's see what this is here. Oh my God, all of this stuff. So there is a list. Enforcement of large capacity magazine ban by regulating the manufacture, distribution, transfer, sale, and purchase of specified semi-automatic firearms, penalties, and definitions. So they go through a whole bunch of definitions talking about different types of firearms and the function of those firearms. And then they go into talking about single or double action semi-automatic handgun that uses recoil to cycle that action of the handgun. Wow. The following models of firearms as they exist and are configured to the effective date of this section. Jesus criminy. Damn. They're just rattling off different types of guns, aren't they?
Yeah, there's no real rhyme or reason to why they're picking these individual guns. And
well, that's because we have
yeah.
people who are writing bills about guns that don't shoot guns. They don't understand gun culture. They have no idea what they're talking about. They're using propaganda and misinformation. And when I was at the Capitol the other day, walking around talking to these people, they were literally, I was talking to Democrats and they're like, oh yeah, the magazine enforcement bill. They literally are so gaslighted into believing, oh, we're just going to take the word for whatever Everytown for Gun Safety or Moms Demand Action tell us that it is, and we're just going to roll with it. They don't understand how egregious and asinine this bill truly is.
Some of them are being lied to and repeating those talking points, and the other ones are know what they're doing and they have no excuse.
And I kind of felt like that at first because I was talking to some Republicans down there too, and I'm very much a constitutionalist. I am more Republican than I am Democrat. But there's a lot of things that are very libertarian about me and very constitutional based. So I can't really like categorize myself into one party. But, you know, when I was talking to a lot of Republicans, at first I was like kind of ticked off because I was talking to them and they were like, oh yeah, the magazine enforcement bill. And I'm like, what? Like that is a talking point of the left. You guys can't be saying things like that. But then as I talked to more Republicans there, what I realized is that they have so many bills. They have so much legislation that's coming through there. Everybody already knows it's kind of like they're already outnumbered, that they're going to pass these gun bills no matter what. So it's like, okay, do we read the gun bills? Yes, we're going to resist it and we're still going to say no, but we already know we're going to lose. So what are we going to do? We're going to keep these people there till the wee hours of the night. We're going to bring about as many amendments as we can. Every single Republican on that committee is going to talk about it. And if these people want to enforce this type of, you know, unconstitutional, ridiculous laws, well, at least we're going to make their life inconvenient and we're going to keep them here debating this into the, you know, late hours of the night, away from their family, away from their loved ones, because that's what they're doing to us, right? They're playing dirty, rotten scoundrel games. Well, you know, the sword cuts both ways.
Definitely, Alicia. And I really appreciate what you said about making the bill worse or the bill being so bad. Because that's my biggest worry, right? We don't want it to be amended to be more palatable or more passable or more closer to being constitutional. It's clearly not, but that's the last thing we want. We want this bill to be as egregious and onerous as possible so that it's more likely to be struck down in court and potentially even maybe the governor. What do you think? I mean, you have some good inside information. You've been involved in this for a while. What are you hearing? Do you think there's any chance that if this bill, as it sits right now, makes it to the Governor Polis's desk, do you think he would sign it?
The way it's written now, I think he would. And the reason is that these people are purposely amending this bill so he will sign it. If people don't understand that the goal that these people have is to turn Colorado into a safari state. They want to completely annihilate the Second Amendment here. These people truly believe that guns only have one purpose, and that's for hunting. So if they can completely eradicate the access to guns, the self-defense aspect of it, demonize this culture, get rid of gun shops, make it so unattainable that you have a gun. Now it's like, okay, now what do? We attack the hunting aspect of it. And we saw that this year with all these bills that are coming out now that are regulating hunting and the things that they want to do there. Also with indirect ways like the releasing of wolves in the past couple of years and all these things. This is a very, very well thought out and tactful attack on your civil liberties. And as much as I hate to keep saying Democrats, because to me, they're anti-gunners. But the truth is, it's the Democratic Party that is leading the way of this, and they have very socialist and communist leaning beliefs that they're doing this indeed just to attack the Second Amendment from all angles. It's sad. And it upsets me.
Same here. I mean, I've got a wife and a kid, and I mean, I'm very concerned about the future that the Democrats are laying for their futures. You brought up something interesting to me. The Department of Wildlife is now involved. You also brought up the reintroduction of wolves. With the reintroduction of wolves, there is a funding concern because the state is responsible for property damage or any livestock injuries or deaths that might occur due to what we've done as a state. That's going to incur a lot of money that's going to result in a lot of money that the Department of Wildlife is going to have to pay out. That being said, with this new FOID card bill, if this thing passes, from what I'm hearing, a third of the budget is going to have to, of the Department of Wildlife's budget is going to have to go exclusively to FOID card classes and educating people on how to properly buy a gun or whatever they're going to put in there that they don't need to be putting in a 12-hour class in the first place. My question to you is, where's the money going to come from for this? Because that's a lot of money for the Department of Wildlife to be handing out when we are currently in a $1 billion shortfall as a state.
3 billion, isn't it?
3 billion. I thought
that's what it was.
Wow.
Was $3 billion that Colorado is in debt right now.
Oh my gosh. I did not realize it was that much.
It's bad. It's really bad. So, I wish I could say I had more of an intelligent and researched answer for you. But the truth is, all I know right now is that they plan on us, like, as instructors. So when I was talking about the change in how Colorado is dealing with concealed handgun permitting, one of the changes that is also enforced there is that instructors, because I'm also a firearms instructor, I'm also a range safety officer. One of the things that we have to do as educators is get permission from the state to continue being educators and pay, a certification fee for them to certify us through the state as firearms educators. That's already changing. And if you look at the numbers right now of people that are signing up, a lot of instructors are kind of throwing their hands up and they're like, I don't even want to be a part of this anymore because it's being inundated very difficult. And right now, a lot of the instructors are just teaching a classroom class. They're not teaching a live fire portion. So it's much easier to have just a classroom to educate people. What this is going to do is this requires me to be certified by the state. And now I also have to have access to a live fire range, which means also for the FOID card purpose, they're going to have access to me because now I'm going to have to be an employee of the Department of Wildlife to instruct their courses, right? So the money that I'm going to be taking in is going to have to go directly to the Department of Wildlife. I don't even get to keep that money, but yet I basically am now an employee of the Department of Wildlife to educate people on firearms handling and safety. Now, here's the goofy part. With the way things are going right now, there's about one instructor for every 500 people in the state of Colorado. These classes, these hunter safety classes, are all sold out. That if you try to go get into them, they're sold out week after week after week. We don't have the manpower to meet this demand. So my question is, does the state think about all the man hours and the time that it's going to take to process all of this new paperwork? Which means who's going to be inconvenienced? The person that needs that firearm to defend themselves, protect their family. And what people don't understand, I'm also the plaintiff in the 3-day waiting period case, right? So I'm Garcia and Garcia versus Polis on the 3-day waiting period to obtain your firearm. One of the things a lot of people say to me is, what's wrong with waiting 3 days? Does evil wait? Does evil wait when it's ready to harm you? Does evil ask, hey, can I show up at your house in 3 days and kidnap your children or rape you or stalk you? Or can I pencil you in for violence? So it's like, they're putting all these hoops that people like me and you and everybody out there watching has to jump through. And they're not considering the strain, not only on the state, on the economy, on the safety, the health and well-being of everybody that's involved in this litigation process. All they think about is pushing their agenda. They know that these are going to be problems. They know that this is going to destroy Colorado small business, especially the gun shops. They want that. Don't think that they don't. And what people don't understand is that these people aren't anti-gun. They're very, very much aficionados of guns because they hide behind them every day. They're protected by them every day. They just don't want you having access to them. That's the difference. It's what the rules for them, but not for us.
Oh, 100%. I mean, their goal is the abolition of private gun ownership for sure. They don't want us to be able to defend ourselves, to protect our families, to defend our homes. I really believe they want to try and run out gun owners for this voting change. If you get all the FFLs, gun shop owners, and gun owners in general out of Colorado, which so many of them have left our state. You think back to Magpul moving up to Wyoming back in 2014 when the mag ban first went into law. I think that's their goal. Part of it is just to drive out gun owners. They want to move those people out of Colorado because it's going to help them win elections is part of it, I think. But of course, they just hate the idea of self-ownership, generally speaking. But Alicia, you've been organizing this rally on Tuesday morning. What can you tell us about that?
It is chaos. I am running on zero sleep. So first of all, we do have a permit pulled for all day from 8 to 5 p.m. So I wanted to personally invite you guys to come down to the Capitol, bring your show, set up an awning, bring picnics, bring your blankets, bring your chairs, bring your coolers with your, non-alcoholic refreshments because we didn't get that license. But, I don't know what's in your water bottle. But, I want people to come out and I want this to be a display of how beautiful and how integritous, how strong and how powerful this community really is. We've had to reschedule this rally a couple times because they keep rescheduling the bill. This is the third time that they have rescheduled Senate Bill 003. So the reason we want to host this rally is because we want people to come out and unify the community. We want them to also fill that rotunda up, and we want to make sure that everybody keeps them there so every voice matters and every voice is heard. We don't know if they're going to cut off testimony at 11 o'clock, but we do have a permit from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're going to talk to the office tomorrow to see if we can extend it earlier and extend it a little bit later. But I want people to come out. We're going to have some cool speakers out there. We're going to have the Libertarian Party. We're going to have some Weld County Sheriff. We're going to have Teller County Sheriffs are coming out to support our cause. We have some really cool influencers that are nationally known. I don't want to say any names just in case, they decide that they can't make it. It's kind of a fly by the seat of your pants. We've only been organizing this since Friday. So we haven't had that much time. But I want you guys to come out, bring Free State Colorado, interview people, do your live show, talk to the community, and literally hear the voices of the people that this matters to and have a unified connection with our community and start showing that, we're peaceful people, but we're not harmless. We're not asking people to be violent. We obviously can't display firearms, which really upsets me. I want to be clear about this because I get a lot of slack for this on the internet and the interwebs. So I want to make a statement about this. Do I think so? For example, the state of Colorado has certain ordinances, right? And then Denver has their own ordinances. Denver has banned the open display of firearms. So Colorado is silent on open carry. I hear this all the time. They're like, Colorado's an open carry state. No, Colorado is silent on open carry. There is no statute that's actually defining it open carry or not. So by default, since there's no statute written on open carry, you can open carry, except for in the counties of Boulder and Denver. You will catch a menacing charge by having a firearm displayed in those counties. Now, the problem with that is that they hate guns in this state. It's not like you're going to get a ticket for menacing and it's going to be $25 and you can go about your way. No, these people are controlled by the Democrats. Everybody in Denver hates guns. So chances are, if you want to be obtuse and display a firearm, they're going to throw the book at you and they're going to make an example out of you and they're going to make your life hell. They're going to red flag you. They're going to give you other cases. They're going to probably charge you with other stuff. They could say you were inciting violence, all of these things. And do I want to be able to display guns peacefully so people know that it isn't the tool that's the violence? It's the person behind it? Absolutely. Is Tuesday the day to do that? No. And here's why. Do you remember when 9 News guy shot the other guy? You remember that? And also last year, I think it was, where Denver police opened fire on a guy because he was rumored or said to have a firearm on his person, and they shot 7 people on 21st and Larimer. The police did, which that is the definition of a mass shooting. But of course, it doesn't get airplay. It doesn't get all over the news. People don't hear about these things. And my concern is, I don't want these people knowing that we have armed people down there displaying firearms so they could purposely jail us all and then hinder our voices and prevent us from supporting and fighting back. We need people that are actually able to speak out and show that indeed, just because we have guns doesn't make us bad people. Can you conceal carry? That's none of my business. Okay? So if you don't want to be disarmed, because you will be disarmed going into that Capitol to testify, come down. Hang out from 8 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock. Bring some snacks, bring some food, bring your blankets, bring your family, bring your friends. And you know what? Sign up to testify remotely and testify outside. And guess what? I don't know if you're concealing a firearm or not. That's none of my business. Then maybe once we beat this, me and my company, the Second Syndicate, shout out to Teddy and Rose, Spartan Defense, my partners on the Second Syndicate. This will buy us some time and some quote unquote ammunition. That way we can start organizing rallies about open carry. We can start organizing rallies about whether we feel that these laws are constitutional. We can start fundraising to make sure that we can fight these things, because I'm tired of them thinking that we're not going to fight. I'm relentless and I want to fight, but I need also to keep my people safe, and I need to be smart, because this is chess. This is not checkers. We can't just show up and act like fools and baboons, because guess what? That's what they want. We can't play into their narrative. We have to take the higher road, because they're looking for any reason to demonize us. We can't give them it.
Alicia, you bring up a great point. When you're there, you need to be controlled, because you know that there are eyes watching us, just waiting to strike.
Yeah.
Smear us, to defame us, and use that for a political prop at your personal expense. So I appreciate that that you're saying let's be controlled, and let's make sure we're watching ourselves when we're down there on Tuesday. While we're down there on Tuesday, you also brought up testifying. I appreciate that you brought that up. I want to know what some of your thoughts are on the key points that people should be making while they're down at the Capitol. We don't want to, as you said, we don't want to give up too much, because we don't want to point out too many things that might make the bill workable and passable for polis. But at the same time, what are a few key points that we can really push to help kill this bill in committee?
So a couple of things. First of all, when I first got into this industry, right, when I first started really being out and open about my gun ownership and speaking out publicly, and hearing a lot of these organizations that are kind of old school, these archaic gun organizations, told me, stick to the facts, stick to the facts. The left is emotional. Don't be emotional. Hell no. I want you to go in there and I want you to share your personal stories. I want you to tell them who you are. I want you to show them, hey, you know what? Are you a victim of violence? Talk about it. Talk about how guns de-escalate situations. Talk about the importance of where you live and how you live and what your life is like and why it's important that you stay armed. I want you to show up, and I want you to let your real spirit shine. And I want you to also listen. This is going to be a very long day. So when people are writing their testimonies, what's going to happen is it happens every time. You're going to hear something somebody says that you planned on saying. You're going to be like, oh man, I was going to say that. Bring a paper and a pen. Bring extra power for your cell phones. Bring snacks and food. Pay for parking. We're working on a way to we can help people be able to stay in park longer and have those amenities, right? So you can say, you know what, I heard either one of the House reps say something and you're like, ooh, I can comment on that. I have experience with that. Write it down, because you're going to have 2 minutes to speak your mind and share what you want to say. And you can elaborate on the things that you hear that day. So be open and be malleable and be willing to, live up those talking points, but be controlled. Be controlled. And here's the thing. They want to rile you. They want you to be pissed. They want you to be rude. And trust me, I'm a firecracker. I have a lot of spirit, and a lot of these times I want to be like, I want to let these people have it and really tell them what I think of it. And if you want to do that, I'm never going to tell you, to hinder your right to free speech. But what I am going to tell you is you are a reflection of an entire community that day. So think about that. Show up look nice, dress up, put your best foot forward, speak with integrity, share your heartfelt stories and your experiences, because that really matters. Your voice matters. Your uniqueness matters. So be willing to share that and say your name. And we're not telling everybody that they have to do this, but we're telling everybody that we're doing this. We're bringing empty holsters, and we are going to have an empty holster protest because these people are disarming us. And I want them, every person that goes and sits on that panel that day, I'm going to put my empty holster there, and I'm going to look these people in the face, and I'm going to say, my name is Alicia Garcia. I am a responsible gun owner, and this is my empty holster because you are disarming me, and I am your protector. I am everywhere that you think I'm not, and guess what? I'm there, and I'm armed, and I'm protecting you, whether you like it or not. And this is why I carry a gun. And share that and look these people in the face. I know it's kind of hard to you want to write something and you want to sit there and read it. Speak from your heart. Look these people in the face. Tell them your name. Tell them you're their constituent, and tell them how important you are. Because at the end of the day, these people work for us. They deserve to listen to you, and you deserve to speak up. So do it.
Awesome. Extremely well said. Really appreciate your passion, Alicia. I really hope there's a huge turnout on Tuesday. There needs to be, and I really thank you for the hard work you've been doing to get people mobilized, to get people energized, and to just spread the word, because that's so much of it. And I think that's one of the big problems we have in Colorado is we have this kind of anti-gun or left-leaning, for lack of a better word, media, where we don't get a lot of this information out there. Thankfully, we have social media, everything you've been doing on YouTube and X and other places. Really appreciate all of that. But what would you say? It's a complicated bill. I really appreciate what you said about talking to the representatives. But say you have a neighbor, say you have a coworker. What's your 30-second water cooler speech to them about what this bill is, what it does, just that simplified version? Like, what are those key points to talk to people out in our communities, just to let them know, oh my gosh, did you hear about this bill? Can't believe they're doing this. This is worse than what you probably have heard. What would you say to somebody in that, like, a really condensed kind of simplified version? So just give us some talking points when we're out in the community, we can talk to our neighbors.
Oh, I'm really controversial on this, and I don't want to do that to you guys. One, people need to understand that you're a person. You're not a political party. You're a person, and you have to speak to them in their language. You have to speak to them in their rhetoric. I went on a rant last night at Teddy's house. We had a barbecue yesterday. We shot some guns on the range and just kind of like had a day, because we haven't had any rest. We've literally been working till 4 o'clock in the morning every day. And I went on a rant and I was laughing, but it was true. I said, I'm an amosexual. I identify as an amosexual, and this is my right to choose. And this is how I identify. And you are restricting my rights to identify how I want to identify. And you're pushing your narrative and your agenda on me. And guess what? Guns are my religion. And this is what I do. And I'm tired of people assuming my amosexuality and assuming my gun gender. Because here's the thing. What they say is nothing but rhetoric. There's people that show up there every time. There's the lady with the pants. She brings the same pair of pants to every hearing where she says this person died in a mass shooting. They have all these talking points that are erroneous and that are wrong. You need to tell people, again, remind them that, you know what? You got so used to compromising, you forgot you don't have to anymore. You literally don't have to. You do not have to budge an inch. So I honestly just tell people, speak your own voice. Be unique in what you have to say. How does this affect you personally and your life? Where do you live? Because the truth is, all gun control is rooted in racism and bigotry. It's about control. It's not about guns. It's about control. So if you don't want somebody pushing their agenda on you, that is the exact same reason you need to be armed. Because the power of being armed is the power to say no. And if you don't want to be raped, that's your power of saying no. You don't want to be drug out of your house and loaded onto a buggy and force-fed rhetoric, and they shave your head and make you work in a concentration camp. Your gun is your resistance. Your gun is your ability to say no. You want to transition your kids? Guess what? Your gun is your ability to say no. So whatever it is, the most important tool that you have is the right to resist. And that's the only way you're going to be able to do it. And I'll tell you one thing. I'll give up my guns when they give up theirs. So if they really want us to disarm, show me how you do it then. You guys give up your security. Give up your security at this Capitol. Give away your protections first, and let's see how well you do. There you have it.
No, good points over. Yeah, definitely. Really appreciate it. Love the passion. Love the energy there. Uh, Michael, did you have a question?
Not at this time. I've just really appreciated everything that Alicia has brought today. I love the fire. I'm excited to get out there and speak for my rights, just like every single one of you. We really need to get together and band together for the future of our gun rights. I mean, I don't want to be forced to wait on a Supreme Court decision to get my rights, my Second Amendment rights back. So I guess I should I I should probably ask this. Worst case scenario, bill passes on Tuesday. Bill passes through the House, gets signed by Polis. What do you foresee being the next steps, and how successful do you think we could possibly be at killing this bill if the Ford card bill passes at on a legal level, I should say?
Well, this is the beauty of what's happening with all this gun control. They really poked the bear. They woke the bear out of hibernation. The bear's pissed. And guess what? The bear is now focused and unified. I have never seen my community so hell bent on putting petty differences aside. And we have come together like friggin' Voltron, and we have united. And we have some things up our sleeve. I don't want to give away our tactics, but don't think we haven't thought about that already, and we're not planning for that. And we have some serious things in motion. We have a lot of people that are willing to back us. We have financial things willing to back us. Of course, we would love more donations. My company, the Second Syndicate, we are getting our paperwork filed now, and we are the company that's putting on the rally. Everybody you see on the flyer is contributing in one way or another. There is not one man above this team. We have all put in something that is contributory to our success to get this rally going. Obviously, we're spearheading it, but all of the people you see there, they're bringing their own power to it, and they're helping make this better. And we plan on showing them who we are. And I don't mean in a sense that we're going to bulldoze them and we're going to be violent. No. I'm going to be there when we walk them off the property because they don't have a job. I'm going to be there when they get served the papers because they're being sued for violating the rights of the people, when they get sued for constitutional infringements, when they get sued for violating their oaths, because I will be relentless in making sure that they know that you don't mess with this industry and you don't mess with these people. These are my people. And if we're going to bleed, we're bleeding together. And I'm going to tell you right now, we are the most disciplined, trained, and dedicated people I've ever met in my life. They picked the fight with the wrong community. They really did. So just know that we have plans in action. We plan on suing the hell out of them. We have excellent plaintiffs lined up from here to kingdom come. So it is what it is, man. You want to fight? We literally train in this once a week. We train in arms. We train in being under the gun. We train in working under duress. We're the wrong people to see who the longevity is going to work out with. Best of luck to them, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need it.
Definitely. Yeah. Great stuff. Alicia, I really appreciate your time. Appreciate you. So what can people do to support your efforts? You know, the Second Amendment Syndicate, what can people do to get involved? What's this kind of, how can people follow your work? All of that.
So you can follow me personally on all my platforms. I'm at the Boomstick Babe on Instagram. Of course, it's Meta and it's all shadow banned. And you can find me on X at Boomstick Babe there. You can follow my counterparts, Spartan Defense, on all those platforms, on every platform. Follow the Second Syndicate. Follow everybody that you see on the flyer for the rally too. Because I'm not a one-man show. I couldn't do this if I didn't have this beautiful industry coming together to support me. And I really appreciate that. You can donate with money. If you guys want to send money to us at the Second Syndicate, I'm going to be posting those links on our website where they can send money. Keep in mind, though, we need manpower. We need people that are willing to volunteer. If you have a trade, if you know media, if you have a printing company, you're artist, you create digital graphics, you're a graphic designer. If you have a talent and you want to donate your talent and your time, that's supporting us also. And if you want to be involved, so I'm involved with a couple different things. I'm involved in the Colorado Federal Firearms Licensee Association. I'm the secretary for that. That's a federal firearms licensee association put together by Sean Steele. My good buddy and partner, Teddy Collins, is the vice president of the CFFLA. I am the secretary, and that is an organization that all FFLs in the state of Colorado should be involved with. If you shop at a gun shop and they are not involved with the CFFLA, have them reach out to me. You can reach me at Alicia, Alicia, at cffla.org. You can send them to our website and get them involved, because maybe we have some things going on that you should be involved in our organization. So when we file lawsuits, that you are going to be involved in that injunction when it gets passed or whatever that is. Just putting that out there. There's some things that are going to be announced this week that maybe you should be involved if you're an FFL. Also, support your local gun shops. Support them. There's a lot of things that they're being under attack right now. They need your business. Do not shop big box shops. Donate money to us. Donate your time, your energy, and effort. Share our content. Share our content. All of the things that you can do for free. Like us, comment, engage. Each one teach one. Share this information to people in your community. Start being okay with coming out of the gun closet and talking about the fact that you're a responsible gun owner. We have to start acknowledging, hey, guess what? I like guns, and that's okay. And that's okay. And making sure that we have these conversations. And you know what? Don't get out of your echo chambers, man. Have conversations with people that aren't like you. Because the Second Amendment is not a political affiliation. It's a human and it's a civil right. So we all deserve a right to stay alive and to protect ourselves.
Absolutely. Alicia, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for everything you're doing. It's really difficult in Colorado to really make that fight for something like gun rights because of how oppressing the left can feel. But when we fight, we make a stand and we usually win. So that doesn't mean that does not mean whatsoever that we're going to lose on Tuesday. That doesn't mean that we're going to lose when it comes to this bill whatsoever. So I really appreciate you putting in the time and effort to fight and come together. And I know it's not just you. I know I've been watching the great work that you've been doing with other groups, and it's awesome to see the gun community truly come together as one cohesive unit. It really is. So yeah. I really appreciate everything you're doing, Alicia.
I appreciate you guys. And, without being a sappy, huggy lovey, because I'm a hippie broad at heart, I am very flattered. I'm a huge fan of you guys. I always support you. Anytime anybody asks me, like, hey, where can I get quality information and news? The first words out of my mouth is always Free State Colorado, because I believe in what you guys do. I think you guys are doing your best, and I think you're putting your best effort out there. I think you're sharing quality information. I think the information you also share is very educated and well researched and unbiased. I would love to welcome you guys to be a partner in the Second Syndicate. What the Second Syndicate is, it literally is Colorado's 2A grassroots movement. It is 100% dedicated to preserving the rights of the Second Amendment. So I've reached out to the Pink Pistols. I've reached out to the Libertarian Party. If I could find a Democratic organization that was pro 2A, I would invite them too. And this is about preserving the 2A. It's not about arguing about, what your beliefs are for red versus blue, none of that stuff. I don't gang bang like that. I fight for the real true cause. So I'm very flattered and honored that you guys thought of me important enough to even be on your show, frankly. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Well, definitely appreciate all the work you do. Appreciate the rally, putting it all together, getting organized. Look forward to seeing you down there on Tuesday. And then, yeah, just get involved, and really appreciate you, Alicia. Keep us up to date. Let us know what's going on. Happy to talk to you again in the future with any other anti-gun stuff coming through.
Thank you. And anybody out there who's listening, the only thing that I want to leave you with is that, it's something my favorite person in this industry and my mentor, Kevin Dixie, has always said. If you don't know who Kevin Dixie is, he is a wonderful man. And he says the firearm is either a tool of oppression or it is a tool of liberty. What is the deciding factor is who is in possession of that firearm. So historically, gun control is rooted in racism. It's rooted in hate. It's rooted in ugly things. So firearms are literally the only tool of liberty. It's the most prolific tool we have for freedom. So if you are anti-gun, reach out to me and talk to me. If you have somebody who's anti-gun, reach out, have them talk to me. We have to start breaking these force-fed narratives and this propaganda with truth. And if you want any information, consider me a resource and consider me an ally to you.
Awesome. Appreciate it so much. Appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Take care. And
Bye-bye.
everybody watching, don't go anywhere. We still have a lot to talk about. We're going to give you some more information, other bills being heard this week, really important stuff. If you're just joining the live stream, we got a lot to talk about. But Michael, what did you think about what Alicia said?
I thought she brought up a lot of great points. I really like that she brought up, come down, be passionate, but don't cross that line, because there are a lot of people that are out there waiting to strike. They're waiting to use what you say against everybody that you stand for in your own beliefs. They will twist your words. They will lie. We see this all the time. Nine News, excuse me, had a cough. Yeah, so make sure that you stay cool, stay calm, stay collected, and be that powerful voice for liberty. When you're down at the Capitol on Tuesday, have a lot of fun and network. It's amazing. You never know who you're going to meet down at the Capitol. Last time we had a gun bill, we had Senate Bill 3 be heard at the Capitol. We had Derek Wolf, Super Bowl champion. He was really the unsung hero of the no-fly zone defense. So you never know who you're going to run into. You never know who you're going to meet down there. Last year, Brandon Herrera, also known as the AK guy, was down and he testified. And you can go on YouTube and watch his testimony if you want. So I really loved what she said. And come down to the Capitol. Make sure you testify. If you can't, I completely understand. I mean, I won't be able to be there for a little while because I have work obligations. But as soon as I can get off of work, I'm going to make my way right down to the Capitol to testify. So do the same thing. Testify, sign up, testify in person, and testify to sign up to testify remotely too, if you need to. So
Definitely.
Just please make sure you get down to the Capitol. And I'm really grateful for all of Alicia's work.
100%. Yeah, this is really important, people. A rally starts at 9 a.m. I'm sure you'll run into everybody down there. And then upon adjournment is when this committee hearings meeting. So that means that could be any time. There's not a set time. The House as a whole will meet in the morning starting at 9. They can go for an hour. They can go for 2 hours. They can go a little longer than that, discussing what they're doing that day and what bills they're passing on second and third reading. They're in the House as a whole. But as soon as that adjourns, there'll probably be a 15-minute period or so before this Judiciary Committee in the old state library. So it's up there in the state capitol building. Just look for that. Should be easy to find. Old State Library upon adjournment of the State House on Tuesday when they're hearing Senate Bill 3. So, but stay tuned, folks. We got a lot more to talk about. If you're interested in liberty, freedom, and what's going on at the state legislature, if you want to learn some of the other bills that are being heard this week that you could speak on, that's what we're going to be talking about here. So, Michael, you ready to get back into it?
Let's get back into it, Brandon.
Perfect. So Tuesday, 2 p.m. in the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee in the Legislative Service Building, there's two bills we wanted to bring to your attention. Unfortunately, we have one of the worst bills we've seen in recent memory. If you support freedom of consciousness, if you support Colorado's legal cannabis business, like 67% of the voting public does, then you should be against Senate Bill 76. It's a very bad bill. Unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of changes to it. Last week, we had Representative Anthony Hartsook and Senator Byron Pelton join us talking about some of the changes they're going to make to this bill. So thankfully, there is some good news that they are going to make some good changes to strip out the age requirement. Right now, as this bill is written, this bill would ban the purchase of high potency marijuana for anybody under the age of 25. That would be devastating to the industry. Thankfully, they're going to remove that. And Michael, we're libertarians. We believe in freedom and liberty. So if people that are adults want to have marijuana of any concentration and kind, I think they should be able to. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the government should not be using its monopoly of force against people to tell them what they can or can't do. It's absolutely ridiculous. um, I'm also surprised that Senator Amabile is a prime sponsor on this bill, a Democrat drug warrior. I mean, and then Kyle Brown as well. I mean, I never thought I'd see the day where we had drug warrior Democrats in Colorado, particularly when it comes to marijuana.
Yeah, we have two Boulder County legislators who are sponsoring prime sponsors on one of the worst cannabis bill we've seen in years. This is a terrible bill that attacks not only legal marijuana in Colorado, but attacks natural medicine as well, and basically eliminates this idea that natural medicine, that they could do brownies or candies or things like that for Colorado's new kind of psychedelic industry. So, I know there's some people out there who have some concerns about the use of marijuana or psilocybin, but hey, we're free people, we're adults. People should have the right to do these things. We don't need the government getting involved at this level. Of course, the call is always, oh, we got to protect the kids, protect the kids. But come on, it's already illegal for the kids to buy it. The kids are getting it from older people, from parents, from adults. This bill is not going to change any of that. So, folks, if you care about the legal rights of adults to do what they want, you need to oppose Senate Bill 76. Reach out to the sponsors, reach out to the people on this Senate Business, Labor, and Technology Committee. If you can show up on Tuesday, get down there and speak out, because this is a horrible, horrible bill being heard Tuesday at 2 p.m. in the Business, Labor, and Technology Committee. If you're down there for the gun bill, you can pop over to this committee hearing across the street. It's out in the other building, not in the state capitol, but you'll probably be waiting to sign up because there's going to be so many people signed up for Senate Bill 3. You might have time to go over and speak on this one as well. So make your time down at the state capitol worth it, but pay attention to this. Legal cannabis is under attack here in Colorado, and it's really unfortunate. And of course, they don't want to have psilocybin mushrooms to be in chocolates, candy products, or gummies. They want to make that illegal, which is absolutely ridiculous. These are adults. If they want to be able to take their magic mushrooms in a chocolate, they should be able to do so legally. The Colorado voters approved that. And it's ridiculous that the state government or the state legislators are going after it. So any other thoughts on this one, Michael?
Yeah, real quick, if you scroll down just a smidge, where it lists off the different potential medicines. For example, one thing I want to point out is Governor Rick Perry went on the Joe Rogan podcast to talk about ibogaine and the healing properties it has to potentially help help veterans with PTSD. And I think it's absolutely wild that we have somebody like former Governor Rick Perry of Texas being more of a supporter of natural medicines than somebody like a Kyle Brown or a Julia Mabile.
Yeah, well said. I mean, it's crazy, but like it's just about, like what Alicia was saying about the guns. It's not about guns; it's about control. These people want to
Hmm.
control things. They want to shift society from their into their perspective, their utopian fantasy, and it always ends up in a disaster. So this bill, folks, being heard Tuesday, March 11th, down there, Senate Bill 76 in the Legislative Service Building, starting at 2 o'clock. So show up for that one. Also, in that same committee. Senate Bill 132, spirituous liquor manufacturer tastings conducted. I worked at a liquor store for a short time, and unfortunately, Colorado has some outdated laws regarding liquor tasting laws, allowing liquor manufacturers or liquor stores to kind of have some tasting events. And unfortunately, we have some bad laws, but this bill, I think, moves it in the right direction. So, just briefly, under current law, a licensed manufacturer of spirituous liquor, so think like Stranahan's, may conduct tastings of the manufacturer's own spirituous liquors at the manufacturer's licensed premises or at one other approved sales room location. This bill authorizes the manufacturer to also conduct tastings of other alcohol beverages acquired from a wholesaler licensed in the state and at up to 5 approved sales room locations. So I think this is great. This would allow a company like Stranahan's or Tin Cup or whoever, Rocky Mountain Spirits, to be able to have tastings at their location, get in other local distilleries involved and have them do tastings as well, and then have 5 sales room locations where they can offer tastings across the state. It's definitely not the most pro liberty bill I've ever seen, but it's moving us in the right direction. And it's crazy. Colorado has some outdated liquor laws, and Senate Bill 132, I mean, I think is a good pro liberty bill that we could see pass this year. So just wanted to bring this to people's attention.
Absolutely. I'm lockstep there with you. I do think this is a good bill overall. Um, uh, and I also agree it'd be better if there was more freedom inside this bill, but I'll take what I can get considering some of these legislators that are sponsoring this bill.
Definitely. And for folks who tuned in for the gun bill, we get to share some of this really interesting information with you every week. We're telling you about bills that maybe you're interested in. Maybe you want to learn something, be more informed. This is stuff you're not going to see in the nightly news. So we want to get you updated about what's going on at the state capitol. And then the great thing is you can show up, you can testify, you can speak to the bill sponsors, the committee people. You can email them ahead of time. Give them a phone call. Tell them to support Senate Bill 132. It's being heard Thursday in that Business, Labor, and Technology Committee. So, two interesting bills being heard in that committee, one good, one bad, but Senate Bill 132 definitely a step in the right direction. So moving on to Wednesday, folks, the state capitol is busy this week. A lot going on down there, a lot that you can participate in. But this is in the Business Affairs and Labor Committee, House Committee Room 112. Unfortunately, Michael, we've seen attacks on landlords, property owners. This has been a pet project of the authoritarian left to try and basically get rid of private property ownership in regards to rentals and landlords and people being able to rent out a room or rent out property. And here we see another attack on private rental property owners. So House Bill 1249 being heard Wednesday, March 12th upon adjournment, House Committee Room 112. And we're going to fly through these folks because we got a lot to talk about still. But Nikita Ricks down there has some bad ideas, basically restricting security deposits. I don't know about you, Michael, but I've been a renter I was a renter in the past, and I understand the value of security deposits because places can get trashed. Well, this bill is going to change things. So, under current law, a landlord may not require a tenant to submit a security deposit in an amount that exceeds the amount of 2 monthly payments. The bill changes this maximum to 1 monthly rent payment. So, what gives Nikita Ricks the right to dictate how a renter and a landlord can agree about how security deposit? Because oftentimes you hear first months and last months. Hey, maybe you get 2 months because you have that last month's rent plus an additional if there's any damage. Well, now they're saying it can only be 1 month. One equal to 1 monthly rent payment. And then, of course, there's lots of other restrictions here. I mean, how hard is it going to be a private property owner who wants to rent out your property? Really bad bill here, House Bill 1249. Any thoughts on this one, Michael?
No, I completely agree. I think that the legislature is over, well, specifically Rep Nix is overstepping the government's bounds with this bill. The good news is I'm only seeing one prime sponsor, so I'm really hoping it stays that way because this bill will likely die if we don't get another Senate sponsor for the bill. But at this moment, I really am concerned about the way the Colorado legislature is opening the landlord tenant relationship up in this manner. Uh, yeah, they for example, a tenant should be, or a landlord should be able to charge what they want for a security deposit. I mean, there's no reason to take away that second monthly rent amount for a security deposit. Uh, and I'm also surprised that we don't have somebody like a Woodrow or a Mabry prime sponsoring this bill as well.
Yeah, fair points, fair points. So bad bill, House Bill 1249, terrible bill. If you ever thought about renting out property or a property owner yourself, definitely pay attention to that one, folks. You can still reach out, speak out on that one. Another one on Wednesday. Talked about this briefly before, so we won't talk about it too long here. But House Bill 1175 is the smart meter opt-in program. So basically, Representative Leader wants to make it so that in order to get a smart meter installed, the utility would have to get you to opt into it. Right now, unfortunately, a utility can install an advanced metering infrastructure, the smart meter, at your residential property without your permission unless you opt out. This bill would say that this utility could not install a smart meter unless you opted in. I love this bill. I don't think smart meters are a great idea. I don't like this idea of this public monopoly like Xcel Energy having control over my meter and being able to read it remotely. So I think this is a good bill from Representative Leader here. Any thoughts on this one, Michael?
No, I completely agree. Public utilities are not just free market institutions, so therefore I have great concerns about the automatic opt-in on Excel's side. I agree. I think this is a good bill that protects your individual liberty. And I also don't like what smart meters do to people's homes and the way they limit people's power. I think there's some real issues with that as well. So I'm really hoping that this bill passes.
Yeah, folks, if you have interest in this issue, show up Wednesday at the Energy and Environment Committee in the Old State Library or testify remotely. Reach out to the committee members on that Energy and Environment Committee and tell them to support this bill. Definitely a good bill there. Moving on here, this is an interesting one that's made some headlines. This is on Wednesday, March 12th, and the Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee at 1:30 p.m. in LSBA. House Bill 1281, Title, Register, and Drive Key Vehicles. Now, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but a key vehicle is the smallest road legal four-wheeled vehicle in Japan and is imported into the United States as a used vehicle. The bill defines a key vehicle as a motor vehicle for the purposes of the Uniform Motor Vehicle Law and the Certificate of Title Act. So basically, this bill authorizes a key vehicle to operate on the roads and requires a key vehicle to be issued a certificate of title, be registered, and obey major traffic laws. So, and we all want our Toyota Helixes. We all want to be able to get cheap foreign cars, that $10,000 Toyota truck people are posting online every day. We would love to have that. So getting a little Japanese truck, if it's cheap, whatever, good. A good pro-liberty bill, very small amount of liberty, but nonetheless moving in the right direction. What do you think about this one, Michael?
Yeah, I think you're right. I'd love to be able to expand the ability to drive what you want to drive. That's really what this comes down to. I mean, if you've got a street legal vehicle, I don't see why you shouldn't be able to drive it on public roads.
Definitely. So good bill down there. We need more bills to open up our ability to buy foreign vehicles for sure. So that's Wednesday, March 12th, House Bill 1281. Interesting bill here on House Bill 1219. I've done some videos in the past with Natalie Metton, one of Colorado's Liberty leaders, talking about metro districts. A lot of people don't know about the metropolitan districts that they're actually paying part of their property taxes to every year. But we have small metropolitan districts, oftentimes the most local, smallest level of government that we're all subject to, potentially, depending on where you live. But this bill would actually, I think, move us in the right direction when it turns to metro districts. So, under current law, certain metro districts are required to hold annual public meetings at which residents can ask questions about the district and financial information. The bill requires that, in addition to notice requirements under the Colorado Open Meetings Law, notice of this annual meeting be provided by by postcard or letter to residents or by electronic mail to electronic mailing addresses that the Metropolitan District has on file, posted on their website. It also requires, if the meeting is held at a physical location, there be available hard copies of self-nomination acceptance forms, forms required to be filed for an eligible elector to be a candidate for a board position. And then it also requires that each Metro District have a publicly accessible website for a system and process for residents to contact someone associated with the Metro District. So, this kind of expands these open meeting laws. It expands the ability of people to have more input on this most local level of government. I think this is moving in the right direction. And I've heard things about Jackie Phillips down there that even though she's a Democrat, she doesn't buy into a lot of the woke type of stuff and a little bit more of a realist. And we've seen her on another bill that we talked about a couple weeks ago with Dan Woog to protect property owners. So very interesting to see Representative Jackie Phillips down there take a step to kind of open up metro districts to the people. Any thoughts on this one, Michael?
No, I agree with you, and I'm glad you brought up Rep Phillips. So far, from what I've seen from her for a Democrat, I like what I'm seeing overall for what a Colorado Democrat can bring. So I'm hoping to see more of this, and I'm hoping to see more of this style of Democrat enter the state legislature.
Yeah, definitely. So interesting bill. If you're interested in metro districts, if you want to get involved in that level of government, something you should really pay attention to. It's often neglected. There's a lot of opportunity there for people to have an impact in your local community. This bill is being heard Wednesday in that Transportation, Housing, and Local Government Committee, 1:30 p.m. in LSBA. Also in that same committee, one more bill we wanted to bring up, and this is the residential tenant screening, another anti-property owner, anti-landlord bill. This makes it so that a landlord could not necessarily get all of your information about from your credit score if they're trying to get you to be a tenant. So this bill amends the definition of a portable tenant screening report to specify that a prospective tenant using a housing subsidy is not required to include a credit history report, a credit score, or an adverse credit event with the tenant's screening report. The bill repeals language allowing the landlord to require a tenant to make a screening report directly available to the landlord through a consumer reporting agency or third-party website. Current law prohibits a landlord from inquiring into a prospective tenant's adverse credit event. The bill defines adverse credit event as an event that can be reflected in a consumer credit report or might negatively affect the person's credit score. So basically, they want to make it so your credit score cannot be used to prevent you from renting a place. Now, I don't know about you, Michael. I've worked in the industry, in an industry where credit scores are really important for consumer loans. The idea that a landlord wouldn't be able to find out how reliable somebody is to pay their bills before they rent to them is absolutely and utterly absurd. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I completely agree. This is a ridiculous overreach by the government once again on a landlord's right to figure out who is a capable person of protecting your that individual's property uh, while they are on your land. There's always risk involved whenever you are leasing out your own property to someone else, and it's your property. You should have the right to be able to look into these individuals um, how you want, really, because at the end of the day, nobody should be able to tell you what you can and can't do on your property. And if you want to let somebody on your property and have them sign a lease to stay there for a while, absolutely. But you should also have the ability to look into them to make sure that they're going to treat your property right.
Right. And that they've paid their bills in the past. I mean,
100%.
so important. So, unfortunately, another anti-property owner bill. Let's move on to Wednesday. This is a big one. We've talked about it before. Want to bring it up again. Senate Bill 86. This is the anti-social media freedom bill. Some people are calling it the social media censorship bill. It's unfortunate that we have some Republicans on this bill, Senate Bill 86. Of course, to protect the kids from the dangers of social media, they want to enact ridiculous restrictions requiring social media companies to jump through all these hoops, fill out these reports, do this and this and this and that. So they have amended the bill slightly, but from what everything I've heard, this is still a horrible bill and it should be opposed. Senate Bill 86. Michael, what do you think about this one?
I completely agree. I really enjoyed while I was not able to talk. It was awesome to have Hannah fill in for me and what was really cool about last week was Hannah's own senator was Senator Pelton. So it was really cool to see the relationship that they've had over the years on camera. Uh, but I thought it was really interesting that they were the way they brought up protecting kids, protecting kids, protecting kids. But at the end of the day, the responsibility of protecting your own kid is you, the parent, not the government. A government's the only thing that the government knows how to do is use force to compel people to do what the government wants people to do. And that's not going to truly bring about the change that people are looking for, that people are desiring for their communities. If you really want to inspire that change for nonviolent issues, work within the community, work with parents, help out. Uh, and it's not something that's going to change overnight, but that's something that's going to change your community as over the decades. And these policies are coming about as a result of decades of failure on a societal level. And a government gun is not going to correct the actions that people are hoping to correct.
Definitely well said for sure. I'm, of course, very concerned that social media companies would be required under state statute to submit annual reports to the Department of Law about illegal activity, the number of Colorado-based users, how many minors use the platform, how long they use the platform, how they interact with content, this and that, and then having these social media companies maintaining a staffed hotline so that law enforcement can get search warrants quicker. I mean, this is a bill that's basically turning the social media companies into agents of the state so that they can come after people in Colorado. I mean, you know, it's so unfortunate. Our state government has done so many bad things over the years to see some Republicans support this bill. I think Senate Bill 86 needs to be opposed. It's a horrific bill, and I really hope people can be down there to speak against it. It's a horrible, horrible bill. Looking at the history real quick, it has passed through the Senate with its amendments and is now in the House. So it's going to be in that House Health and Human Services Committee Wednesday, 1:30 p.m. People, please speak out on this one.
If any of you is concerned about the revelations from the Twitter files, I don't know how many of you guys remember that from a couple of years ago, but if you're concerned about those revelations, please speak out now because there's a lot of similarities between what the federal government was trying to do get to the social media companies and what Colorado is trying to do to these social media companies with this bill.
Definitely. Definitely a horrible, horrible bill. So, being heard this week, you have a chance to speak out, people. So, Wednesday in the House Judiciary Committee, three bills we want to run through real quick. House Bill 1072, pretrial release for repeat violent offenders. Now, I saw who the bill sponsors were, and it made me interested. Shannon Byrd is definitely one of the more moderate Democrats down there. And then you have Representative Caldwell, freshman rep, who was on our live stream previously, and Senator Pelton, who was on last week. So, I thought this would be interesting. This bill would prohibit a court without the consent of a district attorney from releasing a person on any unsecured personal recognizance bond, so a PR bond, if the person is accused of committing a crime of violence. The court finds probable cause to believe that the person has committed the offense, and either the person has a record of conviction for a crime of violence within the last 2 years, or there are at least two pending criminal charges against the person that they allege the person committed a crime of violence. So they're cracking down on PR bonds, these personal recognizance bonds, where I mean, it's so if you look at there's some people posting on social media like sex offenders. I heard that the person who firebombed the trans person who firebombed the or tried to at least Molotov cocktails against the Tesla dealership in Loveland was let out on a personal reconnaissance on bond. I'm not entirely sure if that's true or not, but I would not be surprised because a lot of these people who are doing or being accused of heinous acts are being let out and then possibly able to commit other crimes. What do you think about this one, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, libertarians believe that nonviolent crime should be legal. I mean, there shouldn't be anything that's going to stop you, what is considered to be nonviolent. Um, for example, the drug war. Libertarians don't believe in the drug war. They see a lot of the collateral damage that has happened as a result of what a lot of people are concerned about, and they've got a lot of good reasons to be concerned about some of the things that have happened. But a lot of those consequences have happened because of the drug war itself. Um, this, on the other hand, is not a nonviolent crime. These are violent crimes. These are theft, murder, uh, you know, s- um, Assault, battery, stuff like that, kidnapping, stuff like that. We struggle with in Colorado, where I believe we're the seventh most dangerous state in the country right now. We've got a real problem on our hands, and I think this bill will help us solve a lot of the issues that we do have with violent crime. Because why should you be able to roam the streets free if you're a violent individual who is going to be a real threat to hurt somebody else down the road before your trial even begins?
Well, especially if you've been convicted of a crime of violence within the prior 2 years, and then you're arrested, and this bill's not saying you can let you out on bond. They can still get you out on bond. It's just not a personal recognizance bond. So it's really just trying to clamp down, like you were saying, Michael, to protect our communities and start enforcing these laws that are unfortunately allowing these violent criminals out there. So interesting bill. People feel free to speak out on that one Wednesday in the Judiciary Committee, House Committee Room 107 at 1:30 p.m. So interesting one to listen to. It'd be very interesting if the Democrats kill that bill. That would be interesting. Also in that same committee, another interesting bill, House Bill 1243, the peace officer questions during traffic stop. I kind of like this one. This bill would prohibit a peace officer from asking a driver or passenger if they know the reason for the traffic stop, and it would require the peace officer to inform the driver of the reason for the traffic stop unless it is unreasonable under the totality of the circumstances. So I like this idea. So often these police try and kind of like quote unquote entrap people by saying, do you know why I pulled you over? And then they admit to something and maybe they're just making something up. Maybe the police officer had no legitimate reason to pull them over. But I think that, if a police officer pulls you over, I think they should have to inform you for why they pulled you over. I think that is probably an important thing that would help restore some of the trust in law enforcement. So, I like this bill. What do you think about this one, Michael?
I completely agree. As libertarians, we believe that we do believe in some forms of criminal justice reform, and I think this is one of those areas where we could see some real progress on a criminal justice reform standpoint, just like we saw with civil asset forfeiture reform.
Definitely. So good bill. Looking forward to hearing about that. Looking forward to seeing that one go through, hopefully. Another bill, we had Representative Bradley join us a couple weeks ago, several weeks ago now, talking about her bill, House Bill 1073. Well, it's finally got a hearing date, folks. So this is a huge one to show up for. It's a bipartisan bill with Representative English. But currently, you might not know this, and this is going to make you sick if you don't know this already. But under current law, sexual assault on a child is a class 4 felony if the victim is under 15 years of age, the actor is at least 4 years older than the victim, and specified aggravating circumstances do not apply. So unfortunately, I know that doesn't really tell the story there, but unfortunately, these people can rape a child and get out on parole. This bill puts child rapists in a worse category, making mandatory minimum sentences and making sure that they're locked up for an extended period of time. Because we heard some horror stories from Representative Bradley that these criminals who sexually assault a child are let out on parole. They don't serve any jail time. And that is absolutely shocking and absolutely horrible, I would say. So this bill would require the court to sentence a person to the Department of Corrections for an indeterminate sentence for the following crime: class 3 felony sexual assault by a child, class 4 felony of a sexual assault on a child, and class 4 there. So unfortunately, that's where we're at as a society here in Colorado, that some of these people who are committing crimes against children are getting out on the streets, and this bill would get lock them up for a longer time. So it would get them in there. And it's sickening type of stuff for sure. But hopefully this bill can pass and they get people locked up for longer periods of time. What do you think, Michael?
Absolutely. I find it absolutely sickening that we are able to let rapists go free. Child predators need to be locked up. And yeah, I mean, they absolutely need to be locked up because what they're doing to that kid is going to mess them up for the rest of their lives. You are destroying their childhood, as well as for many people, their own adulthood. So, this is one of those situations where we need to be doing better as a society, and I think this bill puts us in a better position.
Yeah, and these fiscal notes, folks, can give you a lot more information and background. So, right here, it says based on the Legislative Council's analysis of judicial sentencing data, currently around 69 individuals per year are not sentenced to the Department of Corrections for the above crimes. So, folks, there are 70 people every year who sexually assault children and are not sentenced to Department of Corrections. That should make you sick. Based on that number, it is assumed that 69 individuals will be sentenced to the Department of Corrections instead of probation. So there's literally 70 people in Colorado every year who sexually assault a child and get probation as their punishment. This would at least get those 70 people locked up, and that's a good thing in my mind.
Absolutely.
So interesting bill, definitely a tough subject, but folks, if you can show some support for this bill, please speak out. Let Representative Bradley know you support what she's doing down there. Reach out to the committee members. If you have any questions on any of this, reach out to either Michael or I. I'm sure we'd be happy to help you out in terms of how to get involved or how to speak out to these people. But really important bill. I wanted to bring this one up because Michael, remember, I think you probably remember this from last year, where basically these legislators were are trying to push this whole obesity thing again, and it's absolutely crazy. So this bill's being heard Thursday in the old Supreme Court, March 13th, 1 p.m. Senate Bill 48, Diabetes Prevention and Obesity Treatment Act. So basically, this bill would require private insurance companies to provide coverage for the treatment of chronic disease of obesity and treatment of prediabetes. So there you go. They want to force insurance companies. They basically want to increase the cost of insurance to now cover obesity as part of this. So I mean, it's ridiculous. We saw them trying to do this last year and it didn't make it through, but here they go. They're trying to, of course, meddle with insurance, make it more expensive. And yeah, there you go. What do you think, Michael?
I think, first off, I think this would be a fantastic opportunity for Scott Shamblin to make his appearance and advocate for spoon control. Um, but other than that, I think they're missing the mark. What you want to do is you want to encourage healthy behavior, something that you can't do with government force. People are going to choose to eat what they want to eat. And this is not going to actually solve the issue. It's just, if anything, it's going to put a band-aid on the problem. And when people just need to, I mean, granted, okay, there are some individuals who are born with diabetic, pancreas doesn't work right, what have you. But there's also a very bigger problem in this country, I would say, with type 2 diabetes, where people just choose to eat improperly or in a way that's not suitable for their bodies, and long-term uh, mistreatment of your own body results in diabetes. So we need to be encouraging people to put the spoons down from time to time and maybe go on a walk. We live in Colorado. We are so blessed. I grew up in landlocked Iowa. I didn't have mountains. Go on a drive to the mountains. Go take a hike. Eat better. That's what we need to be doing. Not We don't need to be wasting the government's time with bills like this.
No, this is not the proper role of government. Well said, sir. So just moving on, wanted to bring that one up. But two more bills that I at least wanted to bring up that are being heard this week here. Prohibit new liquor licensed drugstores. Just want to briefly mention this. We've talked about it dozens of times. This is the Weinberg bill where he wants to create a new prohibition preventing pharmacies from having liquor licenses. We've talked about this bill before. Fortunately, it did make it all the way through the Senate, but it is going to be heard in the House on Thursday, March 13th in the Business Affairs and Labor Committee. So at least want to get that in front of people's eyes. And then also in that same committee, Business Affairs and Labor on Thursday at 1:30 p.m., House Committee Room 112, is the big union bill. Absolutely horrendous bill. This is absolutely ridiculous. Definitely going to be talking a lot more about this issue and the right to work issue in the future. But this bill did pass the Senate with some amendments, and then now is in the House, which of course you think it's going to go. I think it's going to go through the House, but this bill eliminates the requirement for a second election to negotiate a union security agreement clause in the collective bargaining process. So basically, it means more money going to these union bosses, more money taken out of people's paychecks, and of course going to political activities there. So, any thoughts on those two bills, Michael?
No, I think you're absolutely nailing the head. Uh, if you can get out there, I think this one's going to pass as well. But if you can get to the Capitol, please do. Um, because I really don't want to see Colorado become a closed shop. And that's exactly what this bill's going to put us this bill is going to put us on that path, just like the liquor license bill. That's a ridiculous bill. Those laws were expanded by the people of Colorado. Uh, it's a ridiculous bill.
Definitely. So I want to fly through these here. These are the bills we've been tracking all session. Michael, if you don't mind, I'll just fly through these, but please interrupt me. Say something if you want to talk on any of these,
No,
if you'd like.
absolutely.
But we're getting late, folks. Really appreciate everybody sticking with us. I know a lot of people dropped off, but we still got 30 plus people watching, and we just want to fly through these real quick. These are the bills we've been talking about for the last 10 weeks. So just want to give you people a quick update on all this information. Of course, this is recorded on YouTube, so share this information out there to people. Go back and watch it, rewind, pause, do whatever you want to do. But the tax incentive for film festivals, this is the bill to attract the Sundance Film Festival to Colorado with $30 million in tax credits, will be heard Tuesday on the House floor, March 11th. So interesting one there. The prohibiting price gouging, sale of necessities will be heard Monday, tomorrow on the House floor as well. Ridiculous bill, or terrible, terrible bills, both going through tomorrow. Law enforcement whistleblower protection, interested in this one. Finally has a committee hearing date of March 18th. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll probably talk about that one next week. House Bill 1040, adding nuclear energy as a clean energy resource. We talked about that earlier. Will be heard tomorrow in the committee. Criminal asset forfeiture. Now, this bill did go through debate. Really appreciate everybody who showed up and spoke on this one. Natalie Menton and others who were involved in this. But it's going to be voted on. I guess they're going back to some amendments, possibly, is what I've heard. So March 19th in the Judiciary Committee, they'll possibly amend the bill. And then they'll possibly vote on it at that point. Hopefully it passes. Even if it's stripped down, I'd still love to see something pass. Senate Bill 20, the landlord, law enforcement, they're sicking the attorney general on landlord disputes being heard Monday. Didn't bring that one up just because we have so much else to talk about. Protections against child rape, Brandy Bradley bill there on the Judiciary Committee talked about that. The workers protect the collective bargaining talked about that as well. Senate Bill 3, obviously we talked about that one a bunch, being heard Tuesday. The prohibit new liquor licensed drugstores passed the Senate and the House on this Thursday. The social equity and anti-marijuana bill being heard Tuesday. We talked about that one. So a lot of these are actually being heard this week as well. Protections for users of social media being heard this Wednesday. There's the regulation bill on Bitcoin vending machines being heard next Monday in the Finance Committee there. The Colorado Open and Records Act, the first bill we talked about tonight, being heard Monday in the State Civic, Military, and Veterans Affairs Committee. A regulation of kratom bill, the anti-kratom bill, is being heard in the Appropriations Committee at some point. No date assigned yet. The school district solar garden lease term, where they're allowing school property to be used for solar gardens or affordable housing, will be heard April 2nd in the Senate Committee, Education Committee there. House Bill 1133, the anti-ammunition bill, the under 21 ammunition gun ban or ammunition ban, will be heard Tuesday, March 18th. So we'll talk about that again next week, but wanted to make sure people were aware of that. Register and drive surplus military vehicles, House Bill 1127, onto appropriations, past two committees. House Bill 1093, limitations on local anti-growth land use policies, passed the House, now going to the Senate, and is actually going to be heard on the Senate floor this Tuesday. So, of course, they want to force high-density housing in communities that don't want it. Limit turf in new residential development, House Bill 1113, being heard Wednesday, March 19th. House Bill 1100, requirements for filling certain vacancies for offices. This was supposed to be heard this last week, Representative Luck's bill. Very minor modifications to expand who votes in vacancy committee elections. And that bill got pushed back. Hopefully that's a good sign. I'm not sure. House Bill 1247, the county lodging tax expansion, being heard on the House floor. That did pass out of committee last week. So Monday, they're going to try and create new taxes on mountain property, basically mountain hotels, to pay for affordable housing and blah, blah, blah. House Bill 1239, the Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act, moving on to appropriations. Just real quick in the chat, Donna Walter says, what issues do they have with kratom? Oh, because of kids, of course, because kids are getting kratom and they don't want that, so they need to regulate it. All right, House Bill 1242, government transparency laws. Talked about this one being heard Monday. The anti-gun show bill is being heard tomorrow on the House floor. So that's an important one to listen to. I'm really, I know that a lot of our Liberty leaders, our pro-gun champions down there tomorrow are going to be fighting back against House Bill 1238. That could delay the proceedings for the committee. So people, if you're down there, you can go into the gallery and watch the debate on the gun show bill. But that's another important one there to pay attention to. The misbranding cultivated meat products as meat being heard tomorrow on the House floor. So that'll be interesting as well. So there should be some interesting debate there. The smart meter opt-in we talked about. Reducing the cost of housing, Senate Bill 131. That's Senator Lundin's bill. Interested to see that one. Has not been assigned a date yet. The police officers during traffic stop. We talked about that. Regulate private security officers and agencies. That's right, folks. If you didn't hate these politicians enough, they want to regulate and license private security services in Colorado because they don't want anybody having the access to a firearm to defend themselves unless they get government permission. That's being heard Thursday, March 20th. The Transportation Network Company Consumer Protection. This is the Uber and Lyft regulation bill. Absolutely ridiculous, horrible bill. House Bill 1291, driving these companies out of Colorado, also being heard Thursday in that same committee. And then here's the list of bills that were killed. Unfortunately, this bill was killed last week. The soft closing of alcohol beverage establishments to expand consumption to 2:30 instead of 2 a.m. Killed. Senate Bill 156, reducing the cost of state regulation, of course, killed. 1255, healthcare provider right to exercise conscience, killed last week. Parental consent for treatment of a minor, killed. Expanding the Colorado Cottage Food Act, the Tamale Act, killed last week, 1190. House Bill 1232, liability and means of self-defense prohibited, killed. So a lot of good bills, folks, that they killed this year. House Bill 1089, county mail ballot signature verification requirements, killed. House Bill 1141, gift card and retail property crime penalties, dead. Reducing taxes on cigars, dead. Repeal firearm dealer requirements in the state permit, dead. Change confinement standards for the eggs, laying hens, dead. The repeal the paper bag fee is dead. So a lot of bills, folks. It's interesting to see, though, the good bills that could have passed, if we had a pro-liberty legislature. Insect production for human consumption, banning insects for human consumption. That was an interesting one that was killed. Open source software and voting systems, killed. Non-citizen voter registration cancellation, killed. Local funding for vulnerable road user protection, killed. That's going to come back in another form, from what I understand. House Bill 1145, trafficking minor for abortion or transgender care, of course, killed. House Bill 1140, disclosing information to immigration authorities, killed. House Bill 1144, repeal the retail delivery fees, killed. 1106, remove the precipitation collection limitations, was killed. Enforcement of federal immigration law was killed. Senate Bill 47. And Mark Baisley's big bill, Senate Bill 139, the grocery and utility bill reduction measures. He said that bill would have saved people about $1,200 a year. It would save pretty much everybody in Colorado $1,200 a year if that bill would have passed. But of course, they don't like that. So there we go, folks. 44 slides, 2 hours, and we went through a lot of things that are some of the most important stories being heard down at the legislature this year. What do you think, Michael? What are some final thoughts there?
I'm happy that we've hit the halfway mark in the legislative session. We've only got about 2 months to go before they can, and then we don't have to deal with this unless there's some special session. Last 2 years, we have had a special session, but I'm hoping that we don't this year. And yeah, I mean, just keep on fighting. We're kind of over the hill proverbially, and we still need your voice down at the Capitol, and just be on the lookout as we get towards the end of legislative session. We're going to start seeing more and more we're going to see more and more tricks being played um, against Coloradans.
Definitely, sir. So really appreciate you, Michael. Thank you for everything. Thanks to Alicia for being here as well, and to everybody tuning in. It was a lot of fun, a lot of information going on, a lot of information. Hopefully, we got some useful information for you. People, use your voice, stand up, speak out, get involved in the legislative process. It's what it's going to take. We need more people to get involved. So yeah, just thank you. Thank you everybody out there. And yeah, any other final thoughts, sir?
I think that's everything.
Awesome.
Just
We'll
keep
appreciate
on the
everybody.
lookout, everybody.
Keep on the lookout, keep up the fight, and one day we will be free. So just get involved. We can't give up. Price of apathy is to be ruled by evil men, and unfortunately, there's a lot of apathetic people. But we just need that tireless, irate minority who's willing to light those brush fires in the minds of men to keep that flame of liberty alive. And let's keep fighting. So awesome. Well, thank you, Michael. We'll see you again soon.
See ya. Thanks, Brandon.